Liu Yuning appeared on stage in a very different way, not with a dramatic entrance and not with an explosive opening sound. He simply walked out, stood still, and allowed the space around him to shift. That brief moment alone was enough to make many viewers slow down, as if they were looking at something both familiar and unexpectedly striking. There was a clear feeling when watching Liu Yuning on that stage. He was not in a hurry. There was no rush often seen in opening performances. No unnecessary movement. From his posture to the way he held his body, even his gaze, everything carried a calm, steady rhythm. A kind of calmness that felt natural rather than performed, as if standing at the center of a large stage was something he had long been comfortable with. Dressed in white, his figure stood out immediately against the surrounding space. The light-colored outfit did not seek attention through extravagance. Instead, it created a sense of clarity and focus. Under the stage lights, the white fabric reflected softly, making his presence feel clean, grounded, and unmistakably central. People often talk about presence, but it is not always easy to explain where it comes from. With Liu Yuning, that presence did not rely on dramatic styling or overwhelming effects. It came from a sense of control. When he stood still, the stage seemed to slow down. Before he sang a single note, the audience had already begun to wait, not out of curiosity for what he would do next, but because it felt like the story had not yet begun, and no one wanted to miss its opening. There was something about him that closely resembled the classic image of a Wuxia hero. Not the kind who arrives with loud clashes of weapons or bold gestures, but the kind who steps into the light quietly, dressed simply, and with a single glance, makes it clear that he is not there by accident. He stood upright, shoulders relaxed, unforced. Everything felt balanced. That steadiness did not appear deliberate, but habitual, as if standing alone in front of countless eyes was already part of his everyday world. And it was precisely that familiarity that allowed viewers to feel at ease. Liu Yuning did not try to claim the stage. He did not need to move much or create attention through action. The stage naturally became his backdrop. The lighting did not compete with him. The space did not overpower his presence. Everything seemed to settle into its proper place. That was why many viewers instinctively connected his image to that of a wandering swordsman from Wuxia stories. Not someone eager to prove strength the moment he appears, but someone who stands calmly, dressed in light colors, carrying a quiet confidence that speaks louder than display. What made the image even more striking was the contrast between simplicity and scale. Surrounded by a large stage and carefully designed lighting, the white outfit did not fade into the background. Instead, it became a visual anchor. The cleaner the image, the more clearly the eye returned to him. There was no sense of urgency in the way he occupied the space. He did not chase attention. Attention naturally gathered around him. The stillness, paired with the brightness of his appearance, created a rare balance. Calm but not distant, gentle yet unmistakably firm. This balance is often what defines the most memorable Wuxia characters. They do not dominate through force. They remain composed, letting their presence speak first. In that moment, Liu Yuning felt less like a performer waiting for music, and more like a figure standing at the beginning of a story, aware that the next step would carry weight, and choosing to take it only when the time was right. What made this Wuxia-like presence compelling was not elaborate costume design, but feeling. The feeling of standing alone in a vast space. The intentional pause before the voice arrives. The way he allows the audience to sense the mood on their own, instead of pushing emotion toward them. Liu Yuning did not feel like someone performing. He felt like someone telling a story he had already lived through. And before that story was told through song, it was already being told through presence, through stillness, through restraint, through waiting. The microphone in his hand was held low, not raised in a hurry. A small detail, but one that spoke volumes. It showed he did not need to rush into attention. He knew the important moment would come, and he was willing to wait until everything was ready. In those few quiet seconds, viewers were drawn in not by action, but by atmosphere. A state of focus. a feeling that the noise outside had softened, making room for a story about to unfold. The Wuxia image Liu Yuning carried was not about visible power. It felt closer to someone who had traveled far, who understood when to move forward and when to pause. Someone who did not need to prove who he was, because his presence already answered that question. That calmness made it easy for people to stay. They were not overwhelmed by stimulation, nor pushed by constant excitement. Instead, they were held by a sense of assurance, the feeling that they were being guided by someone who knew exactly what he was doing. And when viewers began to settle into that rhythm, to trust the pace he had set, they were ready to listen, ready for the voice to arrive not as sound alone, but as a natural extension of the person standing before them. When Liu Yuning finally began to sing, the moment did not feel sudden. It felt right, as if everything before it had been quietly leading toward this point. His voice emerged steady and clear, not loud, not showy, but grounded. From the first lines, there was a sense of stability, not the kind that displays technique, but the kind that comes from knowing exactly what story is being told. What made the voice resonate emotionally was not its range or volume, but how closely it matched the state he had already established on stage. The calmness remained, the restraint remained, they simply transformed into sound. Each line felt carefully placed. There was no rush to push emotion upward, no attempt to force a climax too soon. The voice moved step by step, like a swordsman walking through the martial world, unhurried, controlled, yet impossible to ignore. When the melody rose, the voice opened with it, not explosively, but with intention. The audience was not startled. They were carried along, gently, continuously. It was in that flow that many began to understand why the idea of Liu Yuning as a storyteller fit so naturally. His voice was not just something to hear. It guided, it invited listeners to remain inside the story from beginning to end without feeling pushed. When the musical peak passed, the echo lingered, not because of a powerful final note, but because it felt like a chapter had just closed, and listeners were ready to move forward with him. The stage that night never tried to become the focus. It stepped back at the right moments, allowing the person at its center to remain clear. The lighting was precise and restrained, shaping the space rather than overwhelming it. After the performance ended, what people remembered most was not spectacle, but feeling. Many returned to the performance, not to analyze it, but to relive the moment when the voice first appeared. And when everything finally faded, the image that remained was simple. Liu Yuning, dressed in white, standing calmly at the center of the stage. A storyteller who never rushed. Perhaps that was why the story stayed, because it was allowed to unfold at its own pace.